Hey, look right there. The flags right there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you guys can do your kids at home pledge. Ready? Can we do it with you? Okay, ready? Go.
I am a kid at home. I am talented, smart, and capable of success. I have dreams for the future and have bright financial dreams.
Good. I am a treasure hunter. As an adult and a treasure hunter, I am committed to search for all the talents, skills, and intelligence that exist in all children and youth. I believe all children are capable of success. No exceptions.
No exceptions.
All right.
Thank you.
What's that? Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so moving on to the approval of the agenda. Any questions? Well, I'm going to move that we take item G from the consent agenda and move that to item 9B, new business. Is there a second to that?
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Skipper, would you like to move the executive session as well to correspond with that, or no?
We could do that.
It's up to you.
Is that, do we have anything other than the contract extension to discuss in?
We have a couple of items, yes.
Okay,
So we can keep it at the end. I just wanted to offer that up.
open to ideas, but I'm fine to keep it as is, or, okay,
Works for me.
thank you for asking. So, all right, so with the amended agenda, I would entertain a motion to approve that.
I'll move to approve the proposed consent agenda.
Second.
As amended.
Excuse,
Or not the consent agenda,
Oh,
the,
sorry, the
agenda
agenda,
itself.
regular agenda, sorry.
there you go.
thank you.
I'll second
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, delegations, Mr. Peterson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Skipper. I've got Mr. Henry here, who's going to introduce the FPLA.
So I'd like to introduce this FBLA and their advisor, Mrs. Bird, and they'll explain to you while they're here and how they did their district and then going to state. Okay? Come on down.
First, we have a few flyers to give you guys.
Hello, I'm Guadalupe Gomez.
I'm Addison Henry.
I'm Lorena Chavez.
I'm Andrea Gomez.
We would like to acknowledge and congratulate 5 future business leaders of America for rising to the challenge of going to compete at state, or not state, regionals for FBLA. It was in Pasco, Washington. The SE regional advisor offered to cover the cost for our local chapter to compete in Pasco at CDC for our events. We had about 2 weeks notice to prepare for these events, while other teams had about till since September.
Wow.
There's not really an expectation to like place, we just want to go, try it out, see what it's about, because first year competing. We, for our motivation, you know, to give us some challenge to get there, we were like, if one of us, at least one of us, places third place for our thing, because, you know, it's like top 6 could go to state, so at least one of us makes it. We would Chuck E. Cheese from our advisor, that was our end goal. So, you know, we worked at it for like about 10-ish days out of 2 weeks we had, and, you know, we were looking at these events for a while, we're like, oh, we gotta kind of hurry this, you know, it's 2 weeks, so we did that, and we'll tell you how we did on these events and what they were.
So on the day of the competition, we dressed for success and confidently competed in each event. We ended the day feeling like we checked all of our boxes and we had a great time and we experienced competing for the region. Every one of us would have gone home happy, but because we're rock stars, we won. And we took home a 5th place, 2 third places, and a 1st place. We competed in organizational leadership, as business, advertising, and
That is not for me.
website design. We got 5th place and 2 third place wins, and we consisted of studying for 100 question proctored tests, and only the top 6 scores moved on to state, and we all got to.
So, one of the other ones, which our new freshman to FBLA, Lorena, competed in, it was a solo event, so, you know, she had to do it by herself, which is kind of nerve-wracking, competing for the first time. It was, introduction to public speaking, so pretty much give a speech on 5-minute speech on essentials for your first job and to secure it, and how to align to the FBLA and the college standards. She did really well on it, sadly did not exactly place to go to state.
These 2 did a website design that included a 7-minute presentation. They created a website for a nonprofit to support those in need. Just kidding, that was Lorena.
And our other member was
Our
not
other
even
member
everybody.
wasn't able to come tonight, but they had things in their website such as donation forms to support the nonprofit and lots of other events that could have helped them.
And our event was visual design. Our competition was to design a storefront for a holiday sale. It was pretty much, we decided to go with a bakery for St. Patrick's Day. We had to give a 7-minute presentation, and we placed first with a score of 96 out of 100.
Which is a lot because we've never competed.
Good job.
And on our return to state, we will be competing in all these summer events. And the 2 events we did not place in, we will be improving on, resubmitting, and competing in again at state. And that is pretty much all.
Thank you.
In principle.
Congratulations. I did FBLA in high school and it's longer ago than I care to admit, but it's great. Appreciate you guys coming here and giving us an update on that.
They are going to be doing some fundraising, I'm being told, to get to state, as that was not something that anyone expected. So we're looking at some options to support that.
Great. Yeah, please do share that. All right. Any other delegations?
I had one, but quite frankly, because Mr. Henry is here, he gets to, you can see that we had our artwork. These are all submissions to the ESD 123 art show. Donna Baumgartner left me very specific notes, not realizing that Mr. Henry was going to be here. So she's briefed him and he'll include that as part of the athletics and arts portion of the meeting.
Great. All right, on to the consent agenda. Any questions in here? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and move to approve the closed consent agenda.
Second to approve it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so moving on to public comments. I've got a little spiel here to read. The board welcomes input from the community. Please follow the public comment procedure by stating your name at the podium when recognized by the chair. Each person is allowed 3 minutes to speak. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the board is not allowed to discuss items that are not on the agenda. The board will direct the superintendent to follow up with any items that arise during public comment as appropriate. The board will not allow complaints against any individual staff member or student in open session unless that individual is requested in open public hearing. In other words, please no student or employee names. And so when you do hear the timer, I will respectfully ask you to wrap up your comments. And if you have more to say, please do follow up with over email. But welcome anyone who has a public comment.
Thank you. I just have a couple of questions. I only could take 3 minutes.
Okay, state your name, please, first.
My name is Sheila Arms. And I just want to know who is doing the grants manager job and how they're being paid. And I also see that the superintendent contract is up for extension. And I would like to just state that I hope we don't extend this contract. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dale Thornton. I'm a supporter of our local representative, Skylar Rube. He has a lot of promotion for education and he just passed a bill which is called financial education. And I would challenge the Kaibi School District to enact that class and maybe not the graduation requirement, but at least make the class optional next year. I would call it life skills, but that's already taken. But maybe expand on that class a little bit more than just financial, but education for kids that are starting off. Many of them will go off on their own and need, how to balance their bank account, how to do lots of things. My other comment was financial aid. My daughter's senior and she's going to be doing financial aid. She came to the financial aid meeting and all she left there was a loan application that she wanted me to co-sign, which I wouldn't do because I would not promote enslavement of a student and call that financial aid. So that's just my other comment. Financial aid maybe help get scholarships, teach them how to look for other sources of income, but a loan isn't what I would call financial aid. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any others? So we have some electronic here that I will read. It's from Lori Hahn. Good evening. First, I'm respectfully asking that the superintendent's contract not be extended. He's not supported by the majority of the staff community. Second, last week was National School Counseling Week. I did not see any recognition from the superintendent. Did he do anything to acknowledge the tireless work they do for our kids? Thank you. Then we have one from Heidi Arn. My name is Heidi Rogers. My address and phone number will be listed below. I'm writing to the board to ask you to not renew Mr. Peterson's contract. The staff, parents, and community members aren't happy with him as superintendent and haven't been for a long time. Was there a survey sent out to staff and the community about his performance? Has there been any discussion with the taxpayers? I feel like to renew his contract, there have to be reasons to back it up, renewing it. And with the way things sit, I don't feel like there are enough reasons. And there's a follow-up here. In addition to my first email, I have one more question. How is it the board can consider renewing Mr. Peterson's contract and the teachers are still waiting on raises that were agreed upon by the board and Mr. Peterson 2 years ago? For the teachers union, it is still sitting in arbitration. Please respond via email with your responses to both my emails. Then we have one from Jamie Hintz. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that. I'm writing to the board to ask you not to renew the contract of Pete Peterson. The staff, parents, and community are all tired of the same things year after year with him. as our superintendent of the Kiona Benton School District. We have been promised change with zero action to back that up. Much of the community as a whole have been unhappy for years now, and it is not in the best interest of our children to continue his contract. Why was there not a survey sent out to staff and community regarding his performance? Will there be a discussion with taxpayers about where their money is going? Renewing his contract will very likely be detrimental to the safety and well-being of our children, which should be the top priority. We would like to hear the reasons supporting renewing this contract and why it is in everyone's best interest to do so, because as it sits, we've seen a steady decline in most, if not all, areas of the district, from financial irresponsibility to lack of action to stop the rampant bullying, to enforcing, the many policies supposedly in place to combat these things and more. Something needs to change and it needs to start at the top. Thank you for your time. And then our last one here is from Jody Elston. I'm writing to the board to ask that Mr. Peterson's contract as superintendent not be renewed. I do not believe he is making the right decisions for the best interest of our school district. The teachers, staff, and our kids deserve better. He's had plenty of time in the position to improve things. Instead, they seem to be getting worse. It's time to try something new. We cannot continue on the path we're on. There's so much at stake. Thank you. We have any others? All right, director's reports, starting with athletics. Do we have you're up for Mr. Hanson?
I'm going for Mr. Hanson, as you guys can tell. So first, I'm gonna go for the art. Okay, so one of the things I like about the art is that there's all different levels. This one here on the far right, left as they're sitting, but that's made out of coffee. That's all a coffee drawing. Okay, this one's actually a 2D. If you look at it, you see a really neat little mushroom house, but if you look close, there's actually a dragon with its tail wrapped around. But you gotta look. Okay, these are actually 3D, and those are what paper rolled up. This one was made by a special ed student, and these are all going to the competition. Very, very cool. Obviously a self-portrait here. And then these down here blow me away, because that's little pin that they have to write little lines to make the picture, and they make the depth and everything in there with using how close and how often they do that. It's amazing stuff, to be honest. There's a table that was gonna be here tonight, but the young lady didn't bring it. And so this is the most number of entries that I remember, and this is my 10th year in the district. And to me, it's just a lot of fun. You know, I put in 2 boxes in front of my window. I kind of where I sell hamburgers and stuff is what I say. Kids come up, but on each side of it, and she's able to put all these in and rotate them in and out throughout the year. So we have a lot. We have one that's not even here because the person did it with apples in mind. And so we're going to introduce that to the State Apple Commission to be, if that'll be one of their, it'll be an entry for that competition there. So kids do great work. I'm always impressed. It's a ton of fun to go in the class and see the stuff that they do. So I just want to make sure you guys know about that.
Apples, is that one on display? How do you, what?
It won't be on display here because they wanted to save it for the State Apple Commission.
But it's created already?
Yes,
So is it
but if they put
rotting
it in,
apples? I
so
mean, I hate
if
to
they,
put
if
it
they
down,
put
I
it in,
haven't seen it, but I'm
if
really
they put it in
confused.
here
Uh-huh.
and it gets chosen, then it can't go to that.
Okay,
And
but
so it's one of those like, because if the state chooses this and it goes on, then it goes to the state and you don't get it back. The kid doesn't get it back.
oh, wow.
They get a little price for it. But they don't even get it because it gets hung up in the state, rotunda, whatever, you know. I don't know.
So fresh apples. I'm still trying to figure out the apple thing.
I'm sure it's gonna be fresh apples and applesauce. How's that? Okay. I wanna make sure you guys all understand we had a great winter sports season from all 3 sports. Boys basketball, girls basketball, played hard. That's one thing. If you've gone to games, you saw them play hard. Games were close, hard fought. I wanna thank the community and the students for coming out. We had 16 cheerleaders and I thought first would be a cluster, but it was amazing because they went all up and down. There were more people cheering than we'd ever had in the stands cheering before. It was really a fun atmosphere, to be honest with you. Mr. Hanson put in a spotlight. We tried to put in some video. Doing the 2 together, we had to adjust, but it's in progress, let's just say. And then we're gonna have our first all-sport banquet, which we're gonna do seasonally now. All sports in the season will have one night, and you'll have your banquet that night. One, to recognize all the other athletes that you've been with throughout that winter, spring, fall season. Two, to make sure people in other sports see the recognition that was approved by the league and making all league and all that kind of stuff. And then once all that stuff's done, so they'll meet in the comments, then they'll go out to their parts of the school to do their own separate individual awards. I think it's a great idea. I applaud Mr. Hanson for getting that together and saying, nope, that's what we're gonna do. This is what our kids deserve. They deserve recognition with everybody being able to celebrate with them. Okay. With that, I want to congratulate our wrestling coaches for increasing the number of athletes and sustaining the numbers throughout the year. The wrestling season was very successful. Congratulations to the following Kyvie wrestlers who qualified for state. So that's this weekend. And they are Jenna Baugh, Haley Austin, Aubrey Newberry, all placed second at regionals, excuse me, and Kevin Gifford placed first. We have alternates of Natalia Rubio Zambora, who placed fourth. And then they have what they call a double alternate. Makes no sense to me, but that means they took fifth. Omar Gonzalez and Derek Redinger. So they're double alternates. I'll invite you guys all on Thursday. We always do a state walkout. So we're gonna have a walkout on Thursday. It'll be at 11 o'clock, but we've added, last year, we added the fire department and the sheriff leading them out of town. And the middle school, elementary will be out on the fences, waving them on and so forth. So we're gonna put that, I sent it to Molly, our PR person, to get out on social media. Hopefully people downtown will be out there waving and all that kind of good stuff. But that'll be about 11:10 through town. The last thing is that we have February 26th is the first day of spring sports. Why I'm wearing a Mariner just so you know, not that I like the Mariners, but I do. It's baseball season now, football season's over. And I knew Mahomes would win as soon as San Francisco took the ball at the beginning of the overtime. Anyway, so boys soccer, tennis, track, baseball, softball will all be starting on the 26th. And we hope to have successful and a lot of kids out, and we're excited about, how the school has been going as far as sports concerned. Any questions?
Appreciate it.
I'm done. I'm out. Thanks.
Thanks. Have a good evening. All right, Mr. Castillo is not here. We have his comments in our email. Mr. Fago?
I'm here.
Yep.
So I'm Reed Fago. I'm the newer Director of Maintenance and Operations, so forgive
Welcome.
me if I don't know all of you very well yet, but I'll still give you what I have for a report. As far as grounds, maintenance and custodial, that segment of operations, preparing for, like was just announced, the spring sports starts the 26th. But we're preparing grounds, sports fields, facilities that support those sports, routine maintenance type items to make sure playing fields are able to be played on. One thing to note with that is leveling the playing surfaces. We do have a few that are getting extra attention for that. So you see some extra topsoil and some rolling presses going on. That's what's occurring there. Fertilizer weed control with that as well. Getting an early touch on that with our weather. So that way, maybe by March, we see a little bit more green grass. We did have a little bit of mild winter weather damage with that little stint that we had. So maintenance is working pretty hard to rectify and make sure those issues are addressed. And then preventive maintenance for mechanical systems. That would include cooling systems, preparing for the warmer weather coming to make sure that classrooms, hallways, areas where kids are playing sports will be appropriate temperatures. As far as transportation, right after, again, winter stint, there's pretty normal vehicle maintenance that goes on to verify the buses are clean, but also operational after being able to look a little closer when the sand and ice is off of them. Including with that, I'll just say that we're happy to receive 2 new buses coming in. They're ordered almost 7-8 months ago. It takes that long to get a bus now. So that will be replacing 2 of the existing standard fleet buses. Again, they've aged out of the fleet, getting to the point where it will cost more to repair rather than replace. Any questions with that? That's the summary of my report.
I don't think so. Welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Jennifer?
So we are slowly starting on our farm to school grant. We've been ordering apple slices from Olympic Fruit in Moxie, Washington. They're coming from US Foods, but it's still local, and so we're getting started on that. Looking forward to getting some fresh local stuff a little closer to home in the spring, summer. Hopefully, we have our administrative review coming up next week. Hopefully everything goes well with that. I've been working with our mentor from the ESD, Joanna, so she's been helping get me ready. The fresh fruit and vegetable program's going good. We've had passion fruit, avocados, rainbow chard, star fruit, papayas, all kinds of different fruits and vegetables. I think the kids like the fruit the best, but some of them like the avocados. Most of them did. So that's going good. We are looking forward to summer school already, summer lunch. So we're getting my first webinars tomorrow already for that. It's crazy. So hopefully that's all going to go smoothly and we get lots of participation. That's about all I have. So is there any questions?
Thank you very much.
All right.
Mr. Rodriguez,
busting in any
will be
minute.
popping up. Thank you.
Okay, so just to get started, since we last met in November for the director report, we posted 297 tickets. Right now we have an open ticket count of 71, it's pretty big. The majority of them, I would say about 30 of them are toners. We're having some toner problems. Pacific Office, their delivery is lagging behind, so we're working with them to get that resolved. We should have a delivery coming either tomorrow or the next day, so hopefully that works out. Big projects for us right now is Land School Air. That's our student monitoring software. So we've done everything we can on our side as far as setting the system up to any PC that we have as far as students to integrate the software into it seamlessly. For some reason, when we work with Land School to figure out what's going on, there's a percentage of students that are not getting the software. So we're building a list, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and just go out there and just get it physically installed ourselves, so. We were really hoping the software just pushed through, but it kind of plateaued at 470. So, and just a reminder, this is gonna be seniors all the way down to 6th graders, so. Yeah, okay, so Christmas break, we did a lot of updating as far as our labs and making sure MAP and WIDA testing was gonna go well. It's gone fairly well. Big thing for us right now, and obviously I just realized I saw it twice, is laptop damage and repair. On average, we're getting about 4 laptops a day that we need to repair. Depending on the severity, it pushes into the next day and it kind of starts to snowball. So we're working with my team, with Jamar and Mr. Beecham. We have 2 high school interns, Andrew Peters and Anthony Chavez. We're getting them on board. They're not quite ready to test the tech yet, but they're getting there. But once we do that, hopefully we'll have a better turnaround for the laptops. Yeah, like I said, and then also on top of that, some of the tickets that we get as far as laptops being damaged, they're just simple fixes as far as the students are rotating the screens or they're hiding the mice and things like that. So Ms. Rivas is working on creating new group policies, which is rules we set up into the network. So that way we can kind of lock that stuff down, so.
We don't have rotating screens, right?
We do technically, because the all-in-ones are tablets also. And the smaller kiddos, they like to go ahead and fold it and touch it, so.
Okay, thanks.
Good stuff, yeah. Looking ahead, so, one of the big things we're gonna have, since we don't have any infrastructure, projects coming online anytime soon, is gonna be our website migration to Parent Square. With that, we're gonna be migrating off of School Messenger, which we've used for quite a while. And we'll be using the Parent Square, messaging service, and if anyone's has a student outside into the big schools, it's a more robust app, and it seems to work seamlessly with the website, so I think it's to be a big win. Looking even further ahead, and I'll be working with Drew and Mona to talk about just laptop purchases. We are slowly building, our student body's getting bigger and bigger, so we gotta make sure we have the right amount of surplus for them. And then the last thing is really, Ms. Kerr is gonna be donating a TV for us, so we'll go put one in the elementary school foyer. And then we'll put up a PowerPoint and some cool pictures.
Cool.
So. And that's about it. Is there any questions?
That monitoring service that you're talking about from 12th grade to 6th grade. Is it ongoing right now, the ones that are up, or we gotta wait till
The ones they're all online, so what we're doing is, we wanna get at least 95% online, so that way we can start the training for the teachers, so that way, we don't wanna run into an issue of where only half of a classroom has the software, and like, hey, teacher, this is how you do it, and then they're only halfway through it, they're only able to do half of it, so, once I hopefully, by mid-March, we'll have 90%, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick a few teachers that we tend to do well with technology, and then we'll just make sure their classes are 100%, start doing the training, and then we'll go from there.
That's code for the young one.
I didn't say that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Spella?
First of all, I want to say thank you so much for spending that morning with Catherine and I to go over dual language. I know it's a lot, but we appreciate your time. You gave us 2 full hours, so she was very impressed to be able to be with you that length of time. So I do have front and back, but I'll cut it. So I know as I review all 3 programs, I just want to share that all 3 programs, special ed, the migrant education program, and our transitional bilingual or multilingual program are all funded by state and federal funds. And so there is compliance pieces with all of those programs. And the funding is given to us based on the students who qualify for those programs. So I wanted to share a little bit with you in each program. For special education, what our count is. This is our February 1 count in our total enrollment. So we're sitting at about 14.9% of our students here in Kaibi are receiving special education services. So that could be speech only to full services in our life skills classroom. The state currently funds 15%. They cap off at 15%. So we are at a place where we're getting full funding. Right now, there is currently legislation to raise the cap to 17.5%. And we're hoping that it's going to be elevated to 17.5%. In terms of professional development for special education, the state has contracted with Ross Green. There has been a concern about behavior, positive behavior supports for teachers throughout our whole state. So our state has contracted with Ross Green, who is a well-known behavior specialist, and he is going to be providing professional development through webinars with staff and administrators in our state. In January, there was a 3-hour training, and we were able to have all of our special education staff and administrators participate in that live webinar. So I was really excited about that. The schedule's not out for the continued webinars, but we will be participating in all of his trainings. The next program is migrant education. We have 245 students who qualify as migrant in our district, so that's about 18.9%. And again, there is criteria to qualify students for migrant. We have to turn in our counts monthly, and that's how we get our migrant counts. For bilingual or multilingual education, we have 357 students qualifying for those programs. So that's about 27.5% of our student body qualifies for multilingual programs. And then again, bilingual education or multilingual education, that is for English language development. It is often confused that it's about learning Spanish or just for Spanish speaking students. It's for any student whose home language is other than English. And the goal of that program is to learn English, is English language development. So the bulleted areas are things that are happening within our district, within those programs. And with number 3 for multilingual education, I gave you some information just to learn a bit about how we service students in our multilingual education programs. And then our number 4 is our dual language, and then our goals that we've set to move dual language, the planning of dual language through this school year in our district. So any questions you have on any of the information, you can email me, and I'll be more than happy to set up a time with you, or just correspond via email, any questions regarding those 3 programs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on to unfinished business, policy 3424, opioid related overdose reversal. Mr. Peterson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Skipper. Just looking to put finishing touches on our policy 3424, the opioid related overdose reversal. The drug itself has been distributed, is available at the high school. I know that Mr. Henry and our school nurse worked on finding an appropriate location for that. I also received a second set of sprays, for lack of a better term, because that's what they are. They're a nasal spray, and those will be going into the middle school. So the same conversation is going to be happening there, but I'm just asking that we go ahead and approve this policy and move forward.
So at one point, we discussed them being with the AEDs. Was that a no-go?
That
We're
was-
talking about it, but I don't remember what the.
That was a no-go. The nurse, along with Mr. Henry, felt they would be best it does not have to be a 24/7 monitoring area, but it's someplace where we have a little bit of control. And so we have any kids who have asthma, have EpiPens, they can't be in a locked box or anything like that. So we're putting the material in there with that, yes, Narcan. Same place, we publicized it, we've got cool little stickers that go on the side as well. But that way, it also means that no one has to relearn where, if there's a child with an emergency, we would typically go to that to find the name of the kid with the appropriate material in there. So we might as well just keep it right next to it and have it accessible that way. Unlocked, always accessible during school hours, or anytime there's events or anything like that.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion, if someone is so inclined.
I'll go ahead and move to approve policy 3424, opiate related overdose.
I will second to approve policy 3424.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Right. Next up, policy 6115, fund balance, Mr. Rob.
Yes, so in your packet, there are three documents. The first being our current minimum fund balance policy, and then there's a WASDA policy as well. And on the second page, it has the option A and option B. And then I gave my suggestion with the third one, so I just edited it to be what I suggest a policy should be. I chose option B. I think it's simple in language, but it covers what we need the policy to do. At the last meeting, Mr. Peterson spoke on my suggestion that we move the fund balance policy to be 6%. Looking to move it to 7 or 8 here in the future. That gives us time to up it now, but also plan for the future so we can be better prepared for emergencies or anything else that comes up. So I just wanted to give you guys that option. If there's any questions on that, be ready to answer.
Are we on track to be in compliance with that this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's attainable.
And one of the reasons that when Mr. Rob brought this to me, and I concur, we did not want to simply bring you a sample and advise you to go ahead and improve it. We want to give you a couple of options. If you can, give Mr. Rob some feedback, and then at the next meeting on the 26th, we can bring forward your suggested and your preference, and then go ahead and revise the policy formally.
The other thing I'll note is that it is a change in policy number. This will align with WASDA, which many of our policies do. So.
Appreciate you bringing that as an item, because I know that's been a focus of interest for the board for the last year or so. And longer, but
Yes.
in particular, I should say, so. I'm pleased that we're in a position to look at increasing that. Any other comments or questions for Drew at this moment? Okay, thank you. All right, on to new business, RSD Transportation Cooperative Agreement, Mr. Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Skipper. Just to clarify, I am not going to ask the board for an approval on this. This is the first time that you've seen this document, and there still need to be 2 revisions I found that need to be made. However, I want to give you some background. The Richland School District is putting into the state for a new transportation hub. So new facilities to be built on property that they already own. One of the ways that that Richland or any school district can garner more upfront funding support from the state is to enter into a cooperative with local districts. That means that for school districts that have such a thing out there right now, Walla Walla comes to mind. It's the closest one that I'm aware of. And what it does is allow smaller schools from around the area to utilize their people, their facilities, anything like that, if at any point they are unable to get their own transportation needs met. So this was brought to us, gosh, almost a year ago in its initial form. And to be honest, we did not have a huge desire to enter into an agreement, although it's very inexpensive. The new legislature and some of the bills that are currently passing through, though, piqued my interest, and I reached out to Richland again. And one of the things that I've told district office staff, the fact of the matter is the green buses are coming. It is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. The first bill that was proposed in the legislature in December was going to mandate that any new buses in the state of Washington purchased after 2025 would have to be either electric or hydrogen. That has since gone through many amendments. The current bill would allow, and that will be specific to Benton City, would allow us to extend that out to 2036. So a good bump out in time, a full decade longer. However, I get the feeling that this is not going to be the only legislative session that this comes up in. I think it's going to continue to move forward. And Richland has assured me that as a member of the cooperative, were we not able to get infrastructure, meaning mechanics for electric buses, the actual power plant, the infrastructure there, that we could access theirs. And this, of course, would be located in West Richland, just south of the new police department. And so that is really where I came from in deciding to put this before the board to consider and take a look at the financial. The financial cost is insignificant. Requires a 10-year commitment for literally $100 per year to become a founding member, so to speak, of the cooperative. And it will only be utilized after that in any charges or anything else if we are unable to handle them ourselves. So in the event that we would have turnover, for instance, from our mechanic, we would obviously post with the intention of rehiring that position. If we had a bus breakdown somewhere, before we got a new person hired, we could then go to Richland and utilize their services. The other thing being, and I think it's a more pressing issue, is just the fact that we have watched from afar as Union Gap has, they went for a grant and received a grant and purchased 2 shiny new electric buses. And to start the school year, they were charging those at Walmart in Yakima because of a lack of infrastructure. And that's not from the state, and that's not for lack of money. It's because Pacific Power in Yakima simply didn't have the wherewithal to be able to install it. I see this as $100 a year to ensure that regardless of state regulations, that we would be able to meet the needs of our community. In no way, shape, or form, it's this giving over control of our transportation department. This is simply accessing services if they become needed that we cannot do ourselves. So I really am hoping it's a long legal document. I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks you can take a further look at that. We can bring it back under unfinished business with any questions you might have. If you'll notice, the initial startup cost for member districts is usually $100,000, and you can see at the end, I think it's Appendix B. Richland School District is actually covering those costs and simply charging any schools who wish to join the cooperative the $100 per year for 10 years. I see it, quite frankly, as a very inexpensive insurance policy when people in Olympia decide they know better than we do what buses we need to have on our roads, quite frankly. So with that, I'd entertain any questions, but also invite you to spend some time with this document, and then get me any questions via email, and I'll have all of those answered by the 26th.
You mentioned a couple of modifications. If you can just flag those, whatever changed, because I don't want to read that again.
Yeah, I understand. I know that Mr. Crago found one. There's a reference to Whitman County.
Yeah, that I noticed.
And we'll eliminate that. That's a long ways away.
The date 2021.
Yeah, that was the other one.
All right, yeah, if there's anything of
And what I can tell you is that Richland is proposing this with other school districts up and down the valley, and they're getting some positive responses from it. It really doesn't do anything for us other than give us a worst case scenario and a Band-Aid if that happens. So I'll leave it at that.
So I have a question, and
Yeah.
maybe it's better asked in an email, but let's get it right out loud anyways. Why would Richland cover $100,000 for anybody else?
So they, as much as anyone, realize that there's a financial benefit for Richland to get the money up front from the state. The money that they're able to get it for support from the state through a cooperative exceeds the amount that they have to pay to cover the cost of member schools coming into it. So financially, it's a win-win for them.
I suppose any services that we were to use would be essentially offsetting their own costs.
So what we would do is, as we were going through this, we would pay for any service for the time that if we needed an electric bus mechanic to fix an electric bus 5 years from now, we'd be responsible for covering that person's
Just as we would pay. our
time,
own
just
guy,
as we would pay our own. Correct.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. All right, on to item 9B, superintendent contract extension. Did not assign this to anyone, so I guess is that me? Well, pursuant to the contract we have with the superintendent, by February of each year, we need to decide to whether or not to tack on an additional year. The current contract expires June 30th, 2026, so this would modify that to June 30th, 2027. Any comments or questions? Well, I would entertain a motion. Well, I will move to approve superintendent contract extension.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
All right. On to board comments. Yeah.
I just wanna, although I know Mrs. Alvarado didn't want any recognition, I just wanna say thanks to Mrs. Alvarado and Dana Henderson for the time they put in here, along with Tony Bowe and those also that are leaving us via retirement this year, so. It's been a long time. They were both here when my kids went through here. and They were almost here when I went through here, but not quite. So I just want to say thank you to them and to Mr. Bowe for his time and Ms. Lando as well. And congratulations to our wrestlers. They've been awesome.
And I want to thank everyone for the public comments that we receive and the participation and showing up here in the evening. I know this is important stuff for our community, and we certainly take all that under advisement. I assure you of that. I also want to thank Barb for inviting me to run the scoreboard at the middle school girls game last week. Luckily, they crushed it, so I just had to keep pressing points for our side. But I have a strange new respect for scoreboard operators. I was sweating a little bit at first that I was going to screw this up, but luckily it went well, and the girls really did crush it. They're playing great. So, and some of them look like they should be playing on the high school team already. So,
Yes.
any other comments?
No.
All right, well, we will move to executive session pursuant to RCW 42.30.110, performance of a public employee to last 30 minutes with no business to follow. So we'll be adjourned.
How'd you guys do?
Good. Biggest team out there.
Excellent.